Some places are abandoned because people leave them. Some places are abandoned because people disappear from them. But there is one house, hidden at the end of an old gravel road, that has never truly been abandoned, because it never lets its owner leave. The county records say the property has changed hands 23 times. The strange part isn't that it has had so many owners. The strange part is that every single owner vanished within a year. No bodies were ever found, no suicide notes, no signs of struggle, just empty houses, unfinished meals, and cars still parked in the driveway. Police blamed accidents. Families blamed depression. Neighbors blamed isolation. Eventually, everyone stopped asking questions, because every time someone investigated, another name disappeared from the records. My name is Ethan Brooks. I wasn't looking for the ghosts. I wasn't searching for cursed places. I worked as a land surveyor. My job was simple: visit abandoned properties, inspect the land, file a report, go home, nothing more, nothing less. Until one rainy Tuesday morning, a brown envelope landed on my desk. No company logo, no return address. Inside, there was only one property file, no owner's name, no photographs, no tax history, only an address, and one handwritten sentence, written in faded blue ink. If the house opens the front door before you knock, drive away. I laughed. People leave strange jokes all the time. I tossed the note aside, grabbed my measuring equipment, and started driving. It took almost 6 hours to reach the location. The farther I drove, the quieter the roads became. The radio faded into static. GPS lost signal. Even mobile data disappeared. Eventually, the asphalt road ended. A narrow gravel path stretched into a forest that seemed unnaturally silent. No birds, no insects, not even wind. Only the sound of tires crushing loose stones. After another 15 minutes, I saw it. A white farmhouse, old, weather-beaten, standing alone in an endless field. The paint had peeled away years ago. The porch leaned slightly to one side. A rusted swing creaked, although the air was completely still. The strangest thing was the mailbox. Its wood had almost rotted away, but someone's name had been scratched off again and again, until only deep knife marks remained, as if the house refused to remember who lived there. I parked my truck. The moment I switched off the engine, everything became silent. Not ordinary silence, the kind that presses against your ears, the kind that makes your heartbeat sound too loud. I stepped out. The smell hit me immediately: wet soil, old wood, and something else. Like paper that had been locked inside a drawer for decades. I looked toward the front porch. No footprints, no fresh tire marks, no signs that anyone had visited for years. Yet, the front door was slightly open, only a few inches, moving gently back and forth, back and forth. Not because of wind, there wasn't any. I remembered the note. If the house opens the front door before you knock, I smiled to myself. Coincidence, nothing more, probably loose hinges. Still, something made me stop for just a second. Then logic won. I walked toward the steps. Each wooden plank groaned beneath my boots. The closer I came, the colder the air became, not outside, just around the house, as if the building carried its own season. I reached for the door. Before my hand touched it, the door slowly opened by itself. Not suddenly, not dramatically, slowly, like someone standing inside. It had pulled it open and stepped back, waiting. I froze. Hello? No answer. I'm here to inspect the property. Silence, just the faint ticking of an old grandfather clock somewhere inside. Tick, 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 tick. I took one step over the threshold, then another. Dust covered every piece of furniture. The living room looked untouched for years. A fireplace, bookshelves, a rocking chair, everything exactly where it should be, except the rocking chair was moving, very gently, forward, back, forward, back. No wind, no one nearby, just moving, as if someone had stood up. Seconds before I arrived, I told myself not to be ridiculous. Old houses settle. Loose floors, loose furniture, there's always an explanation. I began measuring the walls, taking notes, photographing the rooms. Everything normal, everything predictable, until I reached the staircase. There, on the dusty wooden floor, it was a single line of footprints, fresh, perfectly clear, leading upstairs. Only one problem. They were mine. The exact tread pattern of my boots, the exact size, the exact wear marks. But I had never been upstairs. I stared at them, one after another, slowly disappearing into the darkness above. Every instinct in my body whispered, "Don't follow them." I looked back toward the front door. It was still open. Sunlight poured inside. I could leave. Finish the report tomorrow. Forget this place. Instead, I adjusted my flashlight, placed one foot on the first stair, and began climbing toward footprints I had never made. There is an old saying among carpenters: a house always remembers the footsteps of the people who built it. I never believed that until I climbed those stairs, following footprints that belonged to me, but had somehow appeared before I took a single step. The staircase seemed longer than it should have been from outside. The farmhouse looked like a simple 2-story building, 20 steps at most. Yet I counted 21, 22, 23. The stairs continued, the walls narrowed, the air became colder. I stopped counting after 30. My flashlight flickered. For one brief second, everything went completely dark. Then the light returned. The staircase had ended. The second floor was strangely clean. Downstairs, dust covered every surface. Spider webs hung from the ceiling. Furniture had almost decayed. But upstairs, the wooden floor looked polished. The wallpaper wasn't torn. The windows were spotless. It looked lived in, as though someone had cleaned it that very morning. The footprints continued down a long hallway, 5 doors. Every one of them closed. At the end, a grandfather clock. Its pendulum moved slowly. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It was impossible. I hadn't seen electricity anywhere, no batteries, no winding key. Yet, the clock kept perfect time. 1:30 p.m. Exactly the same time as my wristwatch. The first door opened easily. An empty bedroom, a neatly made bed, fresh flowers in a vase, no dust, no smell of decay. Someone had even folded a blanket at the foot of the bed. I touched it. Warm. Not hot, just warm. Like someone had gotten out of bed only minutes earlier. I backed away, closed the door, tried the second room. Bathroom, clean mirror, dry sink, a toothbrush, still damp. I held it under the flashlight. A tiny drop of water slid from the bristles. I looked toward the shower. The curtain was closed. Very slowly, I pulled it aside. Nothing, just an empty bathtub, but etched into the porcelain were 6 words. "You are not the first Ethan." I stared at the sentence. Maybe graffiti, maybe a prank. Still, something about it bothered me. Not the message, the handwriting. It looked exactly like mine. Same slant, same pressure, Same awkward way I crossed the letter T. I suddenly remembered the envelope, the handwritten warning. My stomach tightened. Could it have been? No. Impossible. The third room was locked. The fourth was a library. Hundreds of books lined the shelves. Most had no titles, just blank leather covers. Curious, I pulled one from the shelf. The pages weren't printed. Every page was handwritten. The first line read, Ethan Brooks. I frowned. The next page listed my date of birth, then my childhood address, my first school, the day my father taught me to ride a bicycle, the broken wrist I got when I was 14, the girlfriend I never told anyone about, even the password I used for my first email account. My hands began to shake. No one knew all of this. I flipped forward. The book continued. Every year of my life, every mistake, every secret, every lie, everything. It wasn't a biography. It was my memory, written by someone else. Near the end, the pages became blank, except for today's date. Today's page had only one sentence. He has entered willingly. Nothing else. The following page was empty as I stared at it. Black ink slowly spread across the paper, not dripping from above, appearing by itself. Letter after letter, forming a sentence before my eyes. He will stay until he forgets his name. The book slipped from my hands. It hit the floor with a heavy thud. The entire library fell silent. Even the grandfather clock stopped ticking. Then, from somewhere downstairs, Kabisa came a sound, a door closing, very slowly, creak, thud. I looked toward the hallway, the front door. Hadn't I left it open? I rushed downstairs. The staircase seemed normal again. Only 20 steps. Not 30, not impossible, just 20. I reached the entrance. The front door was shut, locked. I grabbed the handle. It wouldn't move. I pulled harder. Nothing. I kicked it, solid, as if it had been sealed from the outside. I walked to the nearest window, looked through the glass. My truck was gone, not stolen, gone. The tire tracks that had led to the house had disappeared too. Outside, there wasn't even a road anymore, only an endless field of tall, dead grass, stretching in every direction. My breathing quickened. No, I whispered, this isn't funny. I searched every room downstairs, no back door, no cellar entrance, no broken windows, nothing. Then, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The family photographs hanging above the fireplace. I could have sworn they were blank when I arrived. Now, they weren't. The first picture showed a smiling family, father, mother, little girl. The second picture showed the same family, older. The third showed only the father, standing alone, looking directly into the camera. The fourth frame was empty. As I watched, a faint image slowly appeared. A man standing on the front porch, holding a clipboard, survey equipment beside him, blue jacket, brown boots, me. Behind me, the rocking chair creaked. Once, forward, back. I turned instantly. The chair was empty, but it was still moving. Then, a voice, so quiet, it barely sounded human, right beside my ear. I'd welcome home. When someone whispers right beside your ear, your first instinct is to turn around. Mine was no different. I spun so fast that the flashlight slipped from my hand. It hit the wooden floor. The beam rolled across the room, throwing long shadows against the walls. The rocking chair had stopped moving. No one was there. The room was empty, completely, terrifyingly empty. I stood frozen for several seconds, listening, nothing, no footsteps, no breathing, no wind. Just silence, the kind of silence that makes you question whether you've gone deaf. Slowly, I picked up the flashlight. Its beam trembled with my hand. Who's there? No answer. Only my own voice echoing through the old house. But the echo sounded wrong. It didn't repeat my words exactly. It repeated them slower, like someone else was saying them a second after I had. Who's there? I swallowed hard. This isn't real. I kept repeating it. This isn't real. Because if I stopped saying it, I wasn't sure I'd believe it anymore. I searched every room again, kitchen, dining room, living room, nothing. No hidden doors, no trap doors, no way out. Finally, I returned to the staircase. If there was an answer, it had to be upstairs. As I climbed, I noticed something strange. The hallway was different. Yesterday? No, not yesterday, an hour ago. There had been 5 doors. Now there were 6. I stared. I was certain. 5, not 6. Yet another door stood between the library and the locked room. Dark brown, no handle, no keyhole, just smooth wood, as if it had always been there. And somehow, I had simply failed to notice it. I touched the door. It was warm. Warmer than the rest of the house. Almost like human skin left in the sun. I jerked my hand away. The wood pulsed. Once, very softly. Thump. Like I frowned. Again. Thump. No. It wasn't the wood. Something was knocking from the other side. 3 slow knock. 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 Then a voice. My own voice. Ethan. I felt every hair on my arms stand up. Don't open it. I stepped back. Confused. Why would I hear myself inside a room I'd never entered? The voice came again, more desperate. If you open this door, you'll become me. I should have run. Any sane person would have, but fear has a strange effect on curiosity. Sometimes the more impossible something becomes, the more desperately your mind needs an explanation. I searched the frame. There was no handle, no lock, only a tiny brass plate near the floor, covered in dust. I wiped it clean. One word. Memories. The door clicked. By itself. Very slowly. It opened inward. The room beyond was impossibly large. From outside, it should have been no bigger than a bedroom. Instead, it stretched farther than my flashlight could reach. Shelf after shelf. Cabinet after cabinet. Thousands, perhaps millions of small wooden drawers. Every drawer had a name. I walked closer. Sarah Miller, David Collins, Emily Ross, Michael Turner. Names, thousands of them, some old, some recent. Every drawer belonged to someone. I pulled one open. Inside, there wasn't a photograph. There wasn't a document. There was a marble, small, perfectly clear, no bigger than a grape. When I held it against the light, something moved inside, a memory, a little boy running through sprinklers, a birthday party, a laughing mother. The image lasted only a second, then disappeared. I nearly dropped it. It wasn't a marble. It was someone's memory. I opened another drawer, a wedding, another, a soldier returning home, another, a baby's first steps. Every drawer contained a single memory, one life, broken into thousands of tiny moments, stored, cataloged, preserved. My breathing became shallow. No, this can't. Then, I found my own drawer. Ethan Brooks. It wasn't empty. There were already dozens of marbles inside. I picked one up. Instantly, I remembered something, or rather, I realized I no longer did. What had my first dog been called? I knew I'd had one. Golden Fur always slept beside my bed. But the name was gone. Completely gone. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to remember. Nothing. The memory had vanished, as if it had been lifted out of my mind. The moment I touched the marble, panic surged through me. I shoved the drawer closed. One marble rolled onto the floor. It cracked. The sound echoed through the enormous room. Instantly, every drawer began rattling, one after another, like dominoes. Thousands of tiny wooden compartments shaking, opening, closing, opening, closing. The noise became deafening. Then, all at once, they stopped. Silence. Absolute silence from somewhere deep inside the darkness. Footsteps. Not running, walking, slow, deliberate. Toward me. One step. Another. Another. I pointed my flashlight into the darkness. Nothing. The footsteps continued, closer, closer, until the beam finally reached a man. He stood perfectly still about 20 feet away. His clothes were covered in dust. His beard had grown wild. His face was pale. But what froze my blood was his eyes. They weren't staring at me. They were staring at the drawer with my name on it. Then he smiled, a tired, broken smile, and quietly said, "I knew you'd find it eventually." I raised the flashlight higher. My heart stopped. The man wasn't a stranger. He had my face, older, thinner, exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept in years. He looked at me with a sadness deeper than fear. Then he whispered, "You've already forgotten your dog's name. Haven't you?" There are moments in life when fear disappears, not because the danger is gone, but because your mind refuses to accept what your eyes are seeing. I wasn't screaming, I wasn't running, I simply stood there, staring at the man who had my face. He looked older. Not by 5 years, not by 10, more like someone who had spent an entire lifetime inside this place. His beard reached his chest, his clothes were faded, his hands trembled constantly, but his eyes were mine. Exactly mine. He sighed. I remember making that same face. His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't spoken to another human in decades. "You still think you're dreaming?" I couldn't answer. Every word seemed trapped inside my throat. Finally, I forced out a single question. "Who are you?" The old man smiled. Not happily, sadly. Asking the wrong question. He took another slow step forward. "You should be asking, which Ethan are you?" My heartbeat echoed through the endless room. "What does that mean?" He ignored the question. Instead, he looked at the drawer with my name on it. "How many marbles did you touch?" "One." His smile disappeared. Too late. "What are those things?" "They're memories." "I know that." "No," he whispered. "You don't." He picked up one of the clear marbles from the floor, held it toward the flashlight. "This isn't a memory, it's a piece of you." He squeezed the marble gently. Inside, I saw a little boy, me, running beside a river with my father, fishing, laughing, the happiest summer of my childhood. Then, the image vanished. The old man looked at me. "Do you remember that day?" I searched my mind. Nothing, only fragments, water, sunlight, a fishing rod. My father's face was blank. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't remember what he looked like. The old man nodded. "It started." I stepped backward. "What did you do to me?" "I didn't do anything. The house did." It always begins with the small memories. Names, voices, faces, songs, the things you don't notice disappearing. And by the time you realize, it's already feeding. I stared at him. "What is this place?" For the first time, his expression changed. Fear. Real fear. He looked toward the darkness beyond the shelves, then spoke almost in a whisper. "This isn't a house. It's an archive. An archive? For people, for lives, for identities. I frowned. I don't understand. You will. You don't own this house. It owns you. It has owned every person who's entered, for longer than anyone remembers. He looked around the impossible room. These shelves are the reason. He began walking. I followed between endless rows of drawers, each one filled with lives. Eventually died. He stopped before a massive wooden cabinet. Unlike the others, this one had no names, only years. 1891, 1892, 1893, 1894, 1895, 1896. Every year contained hundreds of drawers. What is this? The arrivals. He opened one. Inside Setgati was an old photograph, a newspaper clipping, a car key, a wedding ring. Objects, not memories. These belonged to people. On the day they entered, they never left. He opened another drawer. Inside Valdez was a rusty sheriff's badge. The name engraved on it read, Thomas Hale. The old man sighed. He came looking for a missing child. He became missing too. Another drawer, a Polaroid camera, film still inside. The photographer who tried to expose this place. Another, a small teddy bear. The little girl who wandered in, chasing her dog. Then, he stopped. His hand trembled. He slowly opened the final drawer. Inside lay a yellow surveyor's badge, my company logo, my employee ID, my truck keys, everything I had brought with me. My breath caught. How? I told you. He looked into my eyes. You've been here in much longer than you think. I laughed, a nervous laugh. No. I arrived this afternoon. He didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward an enormous grandfather clock standing in the center of the room. Its hands were frozen. 1:30. Exactly. Look closer. I stepped toward it. There was something carved into the brass beneath the clock face. Very small, almost invisible. I brushed away the dust. It wasn't a decoration, it was a list. Names, hundreds of them, each followed by 2 dates, date entered, date forgotten. Some lasted weeks, some months. One man had lasted 37 years. I searched the bottom, my stomach turned. There it was. Ethan Brooks entered September 14th. Today's date was October 28th. I blinked. No, that wasn't possible. Only a few hours had passed, hadn't they? What is today? The old man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked quietly, "What was the last meal you ate?" I opened my mouth. Nothing, I couldn't remember. When did you last sleep? Silence. What day of the week is it? My mind was empty. Panic exploded inside my chest. The old man looked away. He doesn't let you notice. It removes time first, then memory. You've already been walking through this house for 44 days. No, I whispered, that's impossible. Is it? He pointed behind me. Then why is your beard grown? I instinctively touched my face. Stubble. Thick. Almost a month's worth. I hadn't noticed. Not once. A cold realization crept through me. I hadn't been hungry. I hadn't been thirsty. I hadn't even felt tired. Because the house had replaced all of those feelings with one thing. Searching. Always searching. Room after room. Hallway after hallway. Thinking I had just arrived. Every day, again and again and again. Then, something echoed through the archive. A deep sound, like wood bending under impossible weight. Every drawer around us clicked open at the exact same time. Thousands, millions, all together. The sound rolled through the darkness, echoing like thunder. The old man's face lost all color. He whispered only 3 words. It knows. I frowned. It knows what? He looked directly into my eyes. It knows. We remember. From somewhere beyond the shelves, something enormous took a single step. The floor trembled. Not the footsteps of a person, not an animal. Something far larger, far older. And it was coming toward us. There are monsters that hunt your body. There are monsters that hunt your soul. But the oldest monsters don't need either. They hunt. The only thing that proves you ever existed. The floor shook again, not violently, slowly, like something unimaginably heavy had shifted its weight. The endless shelves around us creaked. Thousands of drawers rattled together. The sound reminded me of teeth, millions of teeth, chattering inside the walls. The old man grabbed my wrist. Run! We ran between endless rows of shelves, left, right, another turn to another. The archive seemed alive. A path that had existed seconds earlier was now blocked by towering cabinets. New corridors appeared. Old ones disappeared. It wasn't changing randomly. It was guiding us. Behind us, the footsteps continued. Slow, measured, patient. Whatever was following us never hurried. It didn't need to, because nothing had ever escaped. After what felt like hours, the old man shoved open a narrow wooden door hidden between two towering shelves. We stumbled inside. The room was tiny, barely large enough for two people. Stone walls, no windows, only a single oil lantern burning with a pale blue flame. The moment the door closed, the footsteps outside stopped. Complete silence. The old man leaned against the wall. His breathing was ragged. You've seen it before? I frowned. What? The keeper. I didn't see anyone. You never do. Not the first time. I stared at him. What exactly is this thing? He looked at the lantern flame, searching for words. Then, very quietly, he began. Long before this house existed, there was nothing here except forest. A settlement was built. Families came. They lived. They died, like everyone else. But one winter, the entire settlement vanished. No disease, no war, no fire. One morning, they simply no longer remembered one another. They looked at their own children and saw strangers. Husbands forgot wives. Mothers forgot their sons. Priests forgot the names written on gravestones. People wandered into the snow, calling themselves by names that belonged to no one. The few survivors spoke about something walking through the village at night. It never attacked. It never spoke. It simply looked at people. And by morning, someone's name was gone. They built this house, not to live in, to imprison it. I frowned. They trapped it. The old man laughed bitterly. No, we trapped ourselves. The house became its prison. But prisons need caretakers, visitors, new memories, new names. Otherwise, the keeper would leave. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. So everyone who enters feeds it. He nodded. Every forgotten face, every lost memory, every erased life. It consumes them, not because it's evil, because that's how it survives. Outside, the footsteps resumed. Closer this time, the walls vibrated. Dust fell from the ceiling. The old man's eyes widened. It found us. He reached into his coat, pulled out an old pocket watch. Its glass was cracked. The hands had stopped at 2:17. Take this. What is it? My anchor. I don't understand. You will. When someone begins forgetting, one object always remains. Something tied to who they truly are. A photograph, a toy, a ring. For me, it was this watch. My wife gave it to me the day our daughter was born. He smiled faintly. I don't remember my wife's face anymore. I don't remember my daughter's voice. I don't even remember their names. But I remember that this watch mattered. He placed it in my hand. It felt warm for the first time since entering the house. Something inside my mind became clear. I remembered my mother's laugh, just for a second. Then it faded again. The keeper hates anchors. He can't erase them easily. They remind us that we were someone. A loud crack echoed outside. The wooden door bent inward. Something had touched it, not struck it, touched it. The wood blackened instantly, as if decades of rot spread across it in seconds. The old man whispered, "Don't look directly at it. No matter what happens, no matter what you hear, don't look." The lantern flickered, then went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Complete, absolute. I couldn't even see my own hand. Then, a voice. Not outside, inside my head, soft, gentle, comforting. "Ethan." It sounded like my mother, exactly as I remembered. "You've been gone so long. Come home." Tears filled my eyes. The voice continued. "Like, it's safe now. Just look at me." The old man screamed. "It's lying." Covering my ears, I squeezed my eyes shut. The voice changed. Now, it was my father's. Then, my first love. Then, my best friend. Every person I had ever loved calling my name, one by one, begging me to open my eyes. The room grew colder. So cold. My breath turned white. Then, I felt it. Something standing in front of me, close enough that I could feel its breath. Except it wasn't breathing. It was remembering. Images exploded inside my mind. Faces, names, birthdays, funerals, entire lives that were never mine. Thousands of memories forcing their way into my head. I screamed. Suddenly, everything stopped. Silence. I opened my eyes. The room was empty. The old man was gone. Only the pocket watch remained, lying on the floor, still warm. Then I noticed something written on the wall. It hadn't been there before. Not scratched, not painted, written as though the wall itself had formed the letters. "Only one Ethan may leave." Behind me, I heard footsteps. I smiled in relief. "Thank God. You found me." A familiar voice answered. "I've been looking everywhere." I turned. Standing in the doorway was another Ethan, not old, not young, exactly my age, exactly my face, exactly my voice. He smiled and asked, "Which one of us do you think is real?" People often ask. "What was the scariest thing you saw inside that house?" Was it the endless archive, the impossible rooms, the voices, the thing that walked through the darkness? No, none of them. The scariest thing was standing in front of me, because he looked exactly like me. Every wrinkle, every scar, every breath, even the frightened expression on his face matched mine. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he smiled. Not because he was happy, because he knew what I was thinking. "I know," he said quietly. "You think I'm the copy." I tightened my grip on the old pocket watch. "And you're wrong." He slowly reached into his jacket. My heart nearly stopped. He pulled out another pocket watch, the same crack, the same chain, the same initials engraved on the back. Everything identical. "No?" I whispered. That's impossible." He looked almost disappointed. "That's exactly what I said. The first time I met you." The room suddenly changed. The walls disappeared, the archive vanished. We were standing inside the living room of the farmhouse. The rocking chair swayed gently. The fireplace was burning. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. It looked warm, peaceful, normal, almost inviting. The other Ethan sat down. I've been here longer than I can remember. I've killed dozens of versions of myself, and every one of them believed they were the original. I shook my head. No, I'm Ethan Brooks. So am I. He pointed toward the family photographs above the fireplace. There. I turned. The photographs were changing. Frame after frame, different faces, different families, different decades. Each picture slowly faded until only one person remained. Me, standing alone, watching the camera. Then, another me appeared beside him, and then another, then another. Soon, every photograph was filled with different versions of Ethan. Some were young, some were old, some were children, some were missing eyes, some smiled, some cried. All of them looked directly at me. You finally understand? The other Ethan asked. There has never been one Ethan. The house creates replacements. It copies. It edits. It erases. When one version remembers too much, it starts over. My head throbbed. Fragments of memory slammed into me. The envelope, the drive, the gravel road, walking upstairs, meeting the old man, meeting another Ethan, then another, again, hundreds of times, no, thousands. Every cycle ended the same way. I forgot. The house reset me, and I walked through the front door. Thinking it was my first visit, I fell to my knees. It isn't possible. The other Ethan crouched beside me. It doesn't matter whether it's possible. It already happened. Suddenly, the front door opened. No one touched it. Cold air drifted into the room. For the first time, I saw the keeper. It wasn't a monster. It had no claws, no glowing eyes, no terrible roar. In fact, it had no face at all, only smooth, pale skin where a face should have been. No mouth, no nose, no eyes, nothing. And yet, I knew it was looking directly at me. It took one slow step forward. Every photograph on the wall went blank. Every clock in the house stopped. Every sound ceased. Even my heartbeat. Silence. Complete silence. The faceless figure lifted one hand, not toward me, toward the pocket watch, the old man's anchor. I remembered his words. The keeper hates anchors. Without thinking, I opened the watch. Inside the lid, and was something I'd never noticed before, a tiny photograph, a woman holding a little girl. Their faces were faded, almost gone, but beneath them, someone had engraved 3 words. Remember who remembers. In that instant, I understood. The house could erase memories. It could erase names. It could erase entire lives. But it could not erase love. Not completely. That was the anchor, not the watch, not the photograph. The feeling attached to them. The keeper reached closer. The watch grew hot. So hot. It burned my hand. I didn't let go. Instead, I whispered the only words I still remembered. My name is Ethan Brooks. Again, my name is Ethan Brooks. Again and again. Louder each time. The room began to shake. The photographs shattered. The shelves collapsed. The walls cracked. For the first time, the keeper stepped backward. The other Ethan smiled. A genuine smile. I finally remembered too, he whispered. Then, he simply disappeared. Not into smoke. Not into darkness. He was just gone. As if someone had finally remembered he didn't belong there anymore. Everything collapsed. The floor split open beneath me. I fell through darkness, through cold air, through endless whispers. Then, nothing. When I opened my eyes, morning sunlight blinded me. I was lying beside an old gravel road. My survey truck stood nearby. Its engine was cold. The farmhouse was gone. Only an empty field remained. No foundation, no porch, nothing. As though no house had ever existed. The police found me wandering a few hours later. They asked where I'd been. I told them everything. They searched the area for 3 days. No building, no records, nothing. Eventually, they concluded I'd suffered a psychological breakdown. I stopped arguing. Because how could I prove any of it? 3 months later, I resigned from my job, moved to another state, started over. I never spoke about the farmhouse again. Until last winter. A brown envelope arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside, but there was a single property file, no owner's name, no photographs, only an address, and one handwritten sentence. This time, the handwriting was unmistakable. It was mine. It read, "If you're reading this, I failed again. Burn this letter. Whatever you do, don't let the house remember your name." I dropped the letter into the fireplace, watched it burn. The paper curled into ash. I felt relieved. For the first time in months, I smiled. Then, the phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. No one spoke. Only the slow, steady ticking of a grandfather clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock. And just before the line went dead, a calm voice whispered, "Welcome home, Ethan." The call disconnected. I stood, frozen, still holding the phone against my ear. Then, something caught my attention. The envelope. I was certain I had burned it. I watched it turn into ash. I watched the last corner curl into black dust. But now, it was lying on my table again, perfectly clean, as though it had never touched the fire. Slowly, my eyes moved toward the window. Outside, across the empty street, stood a white farmhouse, old, weather-beaten. Its porch swing moved, even though there wasn't the slightest breeze. I blinked. It disappeared. I laughed nervously. "You're imagining things, Ethan." I closed the curtains, locked every door, turned on every light in the apartment. That night, I didn't sleep. Every few minutes, I heard footsteps, walking across the hallway outside my apartment, always slow, always stopping, right outside my front door, never knocking, never leaving, just waiting. When the sun finally rose, the footsteps stopped. I convinced myself like it had all been stress. I made coffee, opened my laptop, tried to forget everything. Then my email notification appeared. Subject: property inspection assignment. I frowned. I had resigned months ago. Curious, I opened it. There was only one attachment, no message, no sender, just a photograph. The moment it loaded, the coffee mug slipped from my hand. The photograph showed my apartment building, taken from across the street. Every window was visible except one, mine. Standing behind my bedroom window, looking directly at the camera, was me. Not a reflection, not a shadow. Me. Smiling. But I wasn't wearing the clothes I had on now. I was wearing the same dusty survey jacket from the farmhouse. I slowly turned toward my bedroom. The door, which I clearly remembered leaving open, was now closed. Very gently, and the handle began to move. Once, twice, then the door slowly opened. The room was empty, but on the floor there were fresh, muddy footprints. They didn't come into the apartment, they led out of it, as if someone had already left. Or perhaps someone else had already taken my place. If you ever receive an envelope with no return address, containing nothing but an address and a warning, don't ignore it, don't investigate it, and if you arrive at a lonely farmhouse and the front door opens, before you knock, don't go inside, because the house isn't looking for another victim. It's looking for another name. Some houses are abandoned, some houses are haunted, but one house is still trying to remember who you are. Good night.